Good day, and we're here with another edition of Around Windsor. It's Monday, September 8th, and I'm here with Chief McAllister, and we're going to be speaking with him a little bit to go over some of the new equipment the fire department has picked up over the last couple of months. We're starting with one of two new ambulances that are kind of a departure from what you may have seen in the fleet in the past, and I'll let the chief go into a little bit about why we've made those changes.
Well, as Tom said, this is a whole new style for us here. Some of it was driven by requests from our employees that drove these in other departments that they work in, as well as a financial aspect. When I started the bid process and looking for new ambulances for our transfers, this is a primary. These two ships are basically for transfer services, but they are also certified as an advanced life safety rig as well. So anything we can do in one of our $400,000 ambulances, we can do in this $120,000 ambulance with just a lot less room. And I had one of the bids I put out with the old style. It was cheaper to buy a brand new rig like this than just to have the box taken off the other one and put onto a new chassis. I was able to buy two of these for the cost of one of the other ones. So that was a huge savings on the town's part. And my folks really enjoy driving these more than the box styles, especially on long transfers, because sometimes we do go to Newport, Vermont, or down to Springfield, Massachusetts.
And so just in general, the whole, the emergency services vehicles, that it seems like the cost of those have exploded over like COVID forward.
Yes.
So it's not like, and it sounds to me like some of the manufacturers have also responded with coming up with new and innovative ways to provide a similar type of service.
Yes.
So this is all sort of new.
Yes. And we'll stick with the ambulances for now. As you can see, this is all airplane grade, airline, avionic grade plastics. These are all molded in the factory, and I went up and watched them do this. It was really quite fascinating and very quick. And you can custom design how you want it all set up inside because it is all moldable. They have like 10 or 15 different molds, and you tell them which mold, they pull it out, they put it in, and about 20 minutes later, you have one side of your ambulance. Whereas the traditional ones, they're cutting cheap plywood or OSB and putting it in there, weighting the ambulance down. So there's just a lot of advantages to going to this style now, as well as cost effectiveness.
And how long, between order time and delivery time, how long was that?
These, I think, weren't much more than 7 months, whereas now they're telling us to order one of the box styles, the type 1 that we're looking at. It's anywhere between 2 and 3 years.
Okay. And we have another one here in the shop. That's like the old style. It's a new ambulance, but the old style box style? That one?
Yeah, that's actually a type 1, which is our advanced, our ALS
We're
right.
going to go look in the back of that just to see the difference of what one looks like on the inside.
And as you can see from coming out of the last one versus coming into here, there's much more room for our paramedics and EMTs, AEMTs to operate. So when we have a major trauma or we're, performing CPR, we prefer this because we can have more people around the patient than in the other ones.
So, and how old is this one?
This one, I think, is going into its 3rd year.
Okay.
So, and it took quite a while to get this, if you recall.
I was going to say there was one of them that I think we were pushing almost 3 years.
Yep, that was this one.
So, but we need this style too. We can't have a fleet of only the other style.
That's correct, just for the reasons I stated before. Yep, and these are 4-wheel drive, and in the winter, some of the roads and driveways we go on, we definitely need the higher clearance than the other ones. The other ones are now all-wheel drive, which their predecessors were only rear-wheel drive. So they were strictly highway use, nothing else. Where those we can, light duty, but not in the middle of a snowstorm. That's this rig.
So
Or
that's
mud season.
And so we have a total of 4. We have 2 of the new style, 2 of this style. And my recollection is, 7, 8, 9 years ago, we would budget somewhere around $250,000 for one of these, and maybe $170,000 for. Still, it would look the same on the outside, but more highly equipped on the inside to perform the more serious issues you need to face.
Correct.
But now these days, these are $500,000, or
Town just north of us bought one just short of $500,000. Yes.
So again, it's not. We have to have ambulances. The market is what it is, but it's really been a challenge both on delivery times and on cost. But we've done some nice things to both help with the delivery and reduce the costs and still provide the service.
Correct. And, the other like this is a 2016, starting to run into the fact that we're now paying a lot of maintenance costs and all that. Matter of fact, I just spent $8,500 on it. Glad you're here.
Well,
to get it fixed and operational, but we have to. There's a cost of doing business, and it's time to start looking into that. And the manufacturer that made the other wants to be one of the ones giving a bid towards doing what we call a chassis off, taking the box off and putting one of their chassis underneath.
Okay.
And they think they can do it much more reasonably than a lot of other places.
Well, and not to put you on the spot, but roughly how many ambulance calls does the department respond to in a year?
Last year was around 1,800 and change.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we had over 2,100 calls overall last year. And majority of any fire department that runs EMS, 80 to 85% of the calls are EMS. They're not fire. That's why we do both here.
Okay.
Because these are revenue generating, for lack of a better term.
Well, and I'm sure you hear it. I hear it a little bit too. The equipment costs a lot, and like today, we're standing here and we've been able to see inside 2 of them. But at all 2,000 runs a year, you guys are out busy every day, and it's not like you can say, "Sorry, the machine's down. We can't respond today." They've always got to be ready to go. So.
Correct.
Well, let's take a look at that new fire truck.
All right.
All right. Well, this is the newest addition to the fleet. This is our new pumper tanker. And kind of just to step back, money is always important. We have these yellow tubes here. Those are the things that suck the exhaust out when you guys start them up in here. That's an $80,000 system that you got through a grant. So free to the taxpayers. And then this truck is pushing $700,000?
Yes, $660,000 for this when we agreed to purchase it in 2022. It took 3 years to build, which is very common with any piece of fire apparatus now due to supplies, so on and so forth. We had COVID and, that whole supply chain stuff. So as impatient as I was, it finally got here. And the nice part of this is also it's going to cost the taxpayers very little. I applied for a highly competitive AFG grant through FEMA and surprisingly won. I was very happy, and I got $500,000 towards this truck. So,
and the remainder was made up through ARPA. So no taxpayer funds went in to get this truck. We are putting some of the local funds into doing things like the final outfitting, like the radios are getting worked on today, and there's been some other things that have to go along. But go ahead.
Well, actually, that radio actually came from another grant that I got for all the radios for this radio grant and the police department. So
that's, I'll make a separate point from all of this. I often hear, like, well, what do you want in a town manager? And people say, well, you just got to know how to write grants. I have been here going on 15 years. I have never written a grant. But I have people like Kevin, the regional planning agency, the police chiefs, they're plugged into what's going on in their particular discipline and where the money is. We just work together on can we go after the grant? Do we need what they're asking for? But it's the staff here that just spent. Kevin's talking. We got $1 million lined up right now on not things that we wish we had. It's things that we do have and that we actually needed. So all of the money out of the side. What is this thing? What's it do?
Well, this is the business end of this piece of apparatus. This is where we can actually flow up to 2,000 gallons of water a minute. It holds 1,800 gallons. So the operator of this has to be pretty well trained because, do the math, 1,800 gallons of water in here, 2,000 gallon a minute pump, you can be out of water in less than a minute. So you have to have it hooked to a hydrant or to a portable water tank, water supply, so you can get water from there into here. Hoses attached here. They're set up there as well, and some off the back. This one will be primary going especially to our mutual aid towns because it has a larger water tank on it than Engine 23. Engine 23 will still be the one to go over to Cornish and Plainfield because this is too heavy for the bridge. Bought that full knowing that. This will be the second piece of apparatus, but it's going to have to go down to Ascutney and over that way.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, and I know there was a lot of discussion going on that this is a pumper tanker.
Yep.
So I'm not really sure what that means other than it's going to replace or it has replaced two pieces of equipment, a pumper
yes.
and a tanker.
Correct.
So how does all that work?
Well, it goes with the size of the tank, the water tank that's on here, as well as having a large capacity pump. It has to be a 1,250 gallon per minute pump or larger to be considered a pumper. We had a tanker here before that held 1,500 gallons, but the pump on it would only pump 250 gallons per minute, and that's basically good for a large brush fire. Nothing you want to try to put even a car fire out with.
So that it's just another example. I assume if you're saying in the past we may have to respond with two pieces of apparatus, so that's a crew for both. Now we can now respond with one. I assume there's some labor savings on who you have on staff and how you can respond to it, and not having to buy two pieces to come back.
Correct. Well, and that was the other thing. It was all part of my long-term plan, was that we got rid of Engine 24, which was way out of compliance, and that actually ended up down in the Dominican Republic, and then got rid of the tanker, traded it in towards this. So those two pieces are now this. Going to cost us less in the long term for, maintenance, as well as we're able to put 5 people in the back of this and get 5 to a fire.
So, and to summarize, we're standing here in the apparatus bay, and behind you, Paula, is a truck that I think we got with FEMA money back from Irene. So that was free. Yep. This one's free. The 2 ambulances are half the price of the ones that they were replacing, so we're saving a lot of money. The exhaust system was free. The radios are free. But the one thing that isn't in this barn is a ladder truck. And most people, when they think of a fire department, they think of a fire department with a ladder truck. And where it may not be 100% intuitive to why we need one, we have some pretty big buildings here in town. Yes. And there's other reasons just to go up 3 stories for a ladder truck. And that's something you're going to be hearing a lot about, both from me and the chief here in the months ahead, about that being a significant hole in what the department has in order to respond appropriately.
Correct. Can I expound on that a little bit? Yeah, I mean, everybody says, what does Windsor need a ladder truck for? Well, I can start with a couple of the big buildings and then explain a little more. We have a hospital here in town. If there's a fire on the roof of the hospital in one of their air conditioning units, it's common. It happens a lot. The best way to get up there is with that ladder truck, and gets personnel up there. We can actually flow water out of the end of the aerial as well. And trying to lug one of these hoses up a ground ladder is dangerous, and it's the other good reason is the school. The reach of a ladder truck, I'm going to be looking at something that has a 100-foot reach, because a 75-footer won't be able to get to the building where we're able to set up. You can't just drive a ladder truck up onto somebody's lawn and set it up. You'll flip it over because of the weight of the ladder and the operational stuff. the houses here in Windsor, a lot of them are set back from the road quite a ways. You're not going to be able to reach with a shorter ladder truck. You need that 100-foot reach. So there's all these kind of things. Right now, West Windsor is changed their runs so they can bring their ladder truck here. They are not comfortable doing it with that. And even their chief told me they're not, because they're a volunteer department. They don't always get everybody they need to operate that piece of apparatus. And operating an aerial is totally different than operating this, and be much more dangerous than operating this. So, you know, we have an agreement that they'll come, and if they need help, my folks can help operate that. But they don't want to do it long-term any more than I want them to do it long-term. That also now puts, you know, a minimum of 10 to 20 minutes before that ladder truck is in town. And as we all know, fires grow exponentially, not just gradually. So the sooner we can have an aerial set up, the safer for everybody in town.
Yeah, and that's kind of walking that like two-edged sword. On the one side, you have plans in place. We had mutual aid. Everybody knows what to expect when you get that call and it says you need a ladder truck. It's not ideal, but there's a way to respond, but it's not the permanent solution.
No.
And however it is, we're the paid department for, you know, pretty wide area, and a lot of communities rely on us. We rely on them back for help. It is a two-way street.
Yep.
So you don't have to be concerned that there's no response, but it's not the ideal one.
Right. Right.
All right, Chief. Well, thanks. Get back to putting all
Anytime.
this together, and kind of hope you never need to use them, but we know that's not the case.
Not the case. Almost had to use them this morning.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Thanks a lot for your time.
all right, thank you.
All right, so I've teleported over to the fairgrounds from the fire department. I'm here with James Aldrich, our rec director, and we're standing in one of our new pickleball courts. Now, many people ask, why is it called pickleball? Do you know, James?
I do not.
I do know the answer to that. It's because, as we all know, when we were on our crew teams in high school and college, they would put together a team. If there was leftover rowers from the other boats, they would throw the leftover ones into a boat that they would call the pickle boat. And it's just like they throw a bunch of different people together and make it. So the people who invented pickleball said they take a lot of aspects of other sports to bring it in to make this new one. So now we know why it's called pickleball. So I know James and I have been getting a lot of requests over the years to have pickleball courts, and it can be a pretty big expense to start from scratch. So when we started putting the ideas together, as most people know, we have the new skate park coming, so we were able to pick up some room here in the old skate park, and James and his crew got together and basically have made them ourselves. You looked into what you got to do, and
Yep.
here we are. So
Yeah, it started with getting the asphalt actually on the ground, and Blanchard Construction did that. And then it went to, we had to drill the holes for the nets here. And that took some time because we had to cut out the concrete and place it. And then really the big part was the measurement. That was what we couldn't screw up on. Everything else, when the paint went down, we could always let it dry and fix where we messed up. But we had intentions to put 3 pickleball courts here. We decided to put 2 to give it more space. And if there's a lot of demand after these 2 get put in, we can put a 3rd one in that space over there. It was good for us because we could do these, so we knew how to do that next year. I don't know if you want to show
the tennis courts?
Yeah, the tennis courts and the basketball courts. This was a trial run. If we screwed up on this, then we were going to be like, yeah, I don't know if we can do that. But we did pretty good. Not too bad for a couple hacks, but it came out pretty good. We learned a lot through the process. It was better that we did it ourselves, because then we know now what to do differently for those, and we'll be able to come back and really set this up the way we need to going forward.
And this isn't just blacktop that gets painted, right? There's some sub bases to this.
Yeah.
It feels a little springy, so different kind of materials.
So underneath the red is a black acrylic paint, which is actually the filler paint. It fills in all the little imperfections. You're supposed to put 2 coats of that down, and then you're supposed to put 2 coats of every paint that goes down. The red goes on top of the black acrylic, and then the lines go on top of that. So everything here was through Friends of Rec. We had saved enough money to say that it was worth it to do it ourselves.
And so the surfaces for this, for the basketball courts, the tennis courts, it's all the same concept.
Yes.
And to make it playable, the balls bounce right and all that kind of thing.
Yep.
And I think you were telling me you got quotes to redo the tennis court surfaces, and how much was that?
It was upwards of $30,000.
Just to redo what's already there.
Yes, to redo what's already there.
And you guys are saying you think you'll be able to pull that off yourself next year?
Yeah, I think if me, Bill, and Caitlin, with a couple hand-picked volunteers, I really think that it's going to save the town upwards of $20,000.
Great. So, and that's, we talk about why it's neat to live here, but here we are on the fairgrounds, school's back in session, but to have the caliber of tennis courts, basketball courts, skate parks, pickleball courts, ball fields, dog park, all that kind of stuff, and all this is free to anybody. You, Caitlin, and Bill get an awful lot done there's tons of services here available in the rec department in Windsor, and so much of it is supported by the Friends of Rec. They always come through big in a lot of ways. So why don't you talk a little bit about them?
Yeah, so the Friends of Rec originally started with like a group of people that wasn't associated with the town to offset the capital budget for what we want to accomplish. And a lot of people write grants. I'll name drop Leslie White. She has personally got the town, for the rec, a lot of money. And all this money goes into upgrading things that necessarily the capital budget couldn't upgrade. And we're talking upwards of $200,000 in the last 25 years that gets utilized in other aspects, kind of how we want it to be utilized, but what the public needs. So we're taking in consideration both of those things.
And the pickleball courts is a good example of that.
Yeah.
It's not as new a game as I thought it was, but it kind of came out of nowhere. Is why don't we have them? What can we do? And a number of different groups talked about putting them together, and we were looking at between $30,000 and $60,000 to completely outfit it. And some of that came in like with the fencing and things that go along.
Yeah.
But you kind of look at what do you need to do, and you find a way that you can provide it. Now, if this turns into like the biggest thing ever, we can always expand it if that's what the community wants. But honest to God, I have no idea how you play pickleball. I assume it's like tennis.
So we can get out of this once we put the fencing around, because we're going to actually do the fencing ourselves, so people won't skate on this, but the asphalt here. But we're going to get out of it with like $12,000 into it, which is pretty good. Anywhere in the country, depends on where you go. They're $30,000, $35,000, $40,000 for pickleball courts.
So,
and it's a good game to incorporate all ages, skills, right? You can be 12 years old playing a 65-year-old female, and the games are super competitive. That's what's nice about this game.
Well, and I think it says a lot too, just off of that we have the skate park going on. That is a certain demographic that's going to like that. The dog park was a different demographic. This one really crosses, as you say, all demographics, but it's not focused on one interest. It's like if you live in the community, you got to find a way to get outside and be active. It's awfully easy to do for almost no cost.
And the other thing is there's things that we build that cost a lot of money to upkeep. This is a 10-year thing, right? We won't have to come do this for another 10 years. So over the course of 10 years, and say it does, when we redo it, it costs $5, it's really $500 a year that we're spending on something to upkeep, which is better than some of the other stuff that we may build that has a lot of upkeep. Everything ages and everything needs to be upkept.
All right, well, so we got a good stretch of weather coming again, as long as you think sunshine and nice temperatures is good, not rain, but grab a couple paddle. We don't have any paddles and balls at the rec, but we're going to get some.
We don't, but I think it's our next step. It's a good idea to have it just in case people want to come. Just like we have tennis rackets and tennis balls and snowshoes and things that the public can use that can come back and it's free. It's another free service, so we have no barriers on what we can do.
All right, well, figure out how to play pickleball, grab your own racket and ball, or we'll be getting some down there, and get some in before the snow flies. You'll be great by spring. Thanks a lot, James.
Yep.